While it is true, AI cannot replace your job, but someone who knows how to prompt will. So stay tuned because in today's video, I'm going to give you a free course on how to master AI prompting and ways that you can turn this $20 app into a six-figure business. Stay tuned. Join me. Scale into a business, right? So I don't want you to necessarily look at them as just something you can do on the side, but look at them rather of something you can do long term that could provide you additional streams of income. So the first thing we talked about was prompt engineering. And I spoke about this because obviously we know that AI is not going anywhere. Now, some of us have different relationships with it where we think it is not good, but whether you like it or not, whether you use it or not, it's not going anywhere. And it currently has over 200 million users currently. And I'm sure it's made a lot of people's lives easier. We're able to get questions fairly quickly and we're able to do our jobs more effectively. It has been such a game changer for everyone who uses it. But I'm not talking about from a user standpoint. I'm talking about from a business standpoint on how you can leverage artificial intelligence for your benefit and how you can help organizations create specific bots that their organizations can use that they can be more effective at their jobs. Now, when I say prompt engineering, I want you to get really comfortable with meaning prompt engineering, aka customization, because technically it's the same thing. What the business could be is you going into an organization and creating customized bots based on each person's role in that organization. And it might not necessarily be just one particular person, but a bot for this particular role. So when I say that, let's just give an example. You go in and you're working with an organization that has different teams. It has a marketing team, it has a product writing team, it has SEO research team, it has executive teams, customer service, and also teams that focus on corporate communication, right? How in ways that they communicate with the public. So you can go in as the organizer, the organization, or the person who's the consultant. You can go in on behalf of the business and create bots based on that thing. Now, there are some fundamentals with setting up customization with bots that I've been playing around with for since it's come out. So about a year and a half now, and really mastering what it means to create tailored bots based on specific needs. And there are going to be some fundamental things that you need to do that you can set up and start selling these packages to organizations for a one-time ad hoc, or you can just be someone that goes in on a regular basis and makes configuration changes or things that help the organization that just they don't have the time, they don't have the skill set. Maybe it's a small insurance company, whatever that is, you have the option to do pretty much anything. So, one of the things that I would say you could do is setting up the foundation to how to master prompting. And the first thing you want to do is specify your role to the prompt. So, say you're using ChatGPT for an instance, and you want to say, I am the marketing exec for this particular organization. We have a team of 14 people. I report to, and then you can structure that org chart, right? So you know who I'm talking to, you know who the people in the organization are, and what roles everyone plays. That's very important when setting up that first prompt, right? Once you say who you are in your role in the organization, you're telling ChatGPT, you're starting to tell the AI bot what it needs to do and how it needs to function. That's the first thing. Once you tell it, here's my role at the organization, here's how I want you to function. You say, please store this information and do nothing with it yet. Do you understand? You say that, you hit enter, the prompt records that in memory. It knows what your specific role is. Then you want to be sure to name that bot, marketing exec. Okay. Then the second thing you want to do is start layering that customization. Now, once you tell the bot its specific role in the organization, you then want to give it clear objectives. Now, that's very important when you're thinking about prompting, right? You need to say, as the marketing executive here, the initiatives of the organization or the objectives for this year or objectives for this month, the objectives for this campaign, whatever specific thing that it needs to know what its goals are, right? What is its objectives? You need to set the foundation. So who is the bot, right? How will it function? Its role in the organization, then store that information. And then you want to go directly into how does the bot need to function, right? What is the objectives and the initiative of that bot? That's very important. You have to put what the initiatives are. You have to be very clear. You can't just be lazy and expect ChatGPT to know what the goals of the organizations are. You also need to make sure you put the roles of everyone in the organization. Here's this person, Mary's doing that, Kay's doing that, Keisha's doing that, Byron's doing that. Here are different roles, and here's how I fit into that equation, right? You have to be very clear when setting up that prompt. And then you need to give it those objectives. Once it understands who you are and your objectives and the initiatives of the organization, then you need to go ahead and give it specific projects as you go, right? So maybe one project is just whatever specific campaigns you're doing. So you need to tell it what campaign it's going to specifically be working on, right? I need you to work on this, and this is how I want you to do it. Then once you tell it, you're asking it to store this information. Say, please store this in memory as this is the foundation of what your job is and how I want you specifically to function. Now, you have to be clear with computers, like from somebody like myself, prior to having artificial intelligence, when I am doing coding language, I have to be, and as anybody who's understand the foundations of coding, you have to be very clear. That's why sometimes one program could have tens of thousands of lines of code, because you're telling it step by step what it needs to do and how it needs to function. So artificial intelligence still works in that way. It's just speaking in a language that humans understand. Like, it's just the computer has now understood how humans communicate versus how before we had to code it in a way that the computer could understand. It's now went in reverse and understands the human language, if that makes sense. So when you're going into an organization and you're talking about creating specificity for them, you want to let them know that you can create customized bots that can help each individual in that organization do their job effectively. Now, from that marketing standpoint, we talked about giving that bot the role, letting them know what they do, letting the bot know the goals and the initiatives of the company so that it can work and understand exactly what it should do. And then you also need to have maybe something for customer service, that our customer service agents speak to our clients about products that we sell, products that we have. Most of the times that the customers call us, they're about returns or issues with the products or whatever those questions are. You want to let the bot understand what the top 10 to 20 questions are going to be and then answer them. And then let the bot understand the products. So it's got to understand how the company functions, what's the company's mission, what are the products they're selling, how are they beneficial to the customer, and then you have to give it a buyer persona. So it sounds really weird, but in order to get the best out of your prompt, you need to be really detailed with the information you feed it. So if I just say, oh, write me a response, I'm a customer and this is that, it's going to give you something very generic. But if it knows your role in the organization is client support, your customer service, and that it needs to be compassionate, it needs to be informative, and it needs to let the customer know, I understand this is a problem. We are sincerely sorry. Make that initial apology. Then it understands how to properly respond to the customer, if that makes sense. So, setting up the foundations to mastering prompting takes time, but once you set up that bot, it will make a game changer with giving back responses that are actually accurate and that don't require creating a different response, right? So again, setting up what it needs to do, how it needs to function, what is it, the role of the person whose bot this is, right? What are the objectives and initiatives of that customer, of the organization, and the connection between the bot and the business, right? How is it responding? You also want to be clear about your buyer persona, right? So our customer is this. Here's who we are targeting. That's very important information to tell your bot is we are a company that sells candles. My company is our goals are to get to $1 million in sales every year. And here's my buyer. My buyer is somebody who likes aesthetic, they like design, they're focused in aesthetic, they like good sense. So whatever those initiatives are, you want to make sure you put the persona in so that the customer or the bot understands who the customer is. And then once you get an output, you want to challenge your bot. This is the testing phase to seeing if you've actually created a prompt that's worthwhile, right? So ask it a couple of questions. You set up the thing. You're talking about initiative. You're asking it to give you back what you want it to do. Here's what I need from this bot, right? Your initiatives are we need to make $1 million in annual sales. Here's our baseline. Here's where we want to go. It has all that information. It understands your role. It understands the buyer persona and knows who it's trying to target. And then you ask it to give you an output. Help me work on a 30-day campaign to get me to my goal. Okay. You're asking the bot to do that. So it has all this information about you and the organization and your role in the organization. So it has everything because you provided it. Once you get an output, you want to challenge the information you receive. That is how you really start to understand how to make customization. So say you get an output and you really, really like it. You're like, okay, but you don't know how it's gotten to that point or how did it logically get to that output. So you want to be able to ask the bot, that is a really interesting concept. Please break down why you got to this point. What makes you think this is going to work and why? What have you done? What information have you found? And how have you fact checked this information? Now, that's really crucial because when you ask back the question, right, the bot has to give you back where its thought process was. How did it come up with that information? What was it thinking to get you that output? And that's where you want to look at, because the first output that you get is not really going to give you, well, it will give you everything you need, but you want to know the background to that. Like, how did it get to this output? And what information did it reference? What fact checking did it do? How did we get here? And that's really where you start looking at the thoughts of the AI and how it got to there. And that's what you really want to pay attention to. So, mastering prompt engineering is going to be a very lucrative and scalable business moving forward because, like I said, businesses can start to create different roles in the organization based on its needs. Now, that sounds pretty scary in the grand scheme of things, right? Like, well, then it's going to take me out of a job. But not necessarily, because you still need a human behind engineering artificial intelligence. It's not just doing it on its own. It still needs someone running the machine, right? So don't look at it of a way of to be fearful of it, but look at it a way that you can generate income. Now, once you've mastered the art of prompting, you could then present it to businesses, organizations, consult being as a consultant. Excuse me. You could go in and build custom customer service bots on behalf of the organization and just sell it one off, or you can go back, right? So you can say, I'm going to be charging you on a monthly basis to respond to emails and phone calls that we get from the organization. Then you can set up some automation on the back end. When certain questions are asked, it triggers it and it knows how to respond to those questions. So you can do that, or you can just go in and train the staff on how to use the prompt, how to get better output. So there's plenty of ways that you can use AI from a consultant standpoint to go into organizations and help them do this on their behalf. And most of the time, people don't have time to do all of this. They're in the day to day, they're in the weaves, they're running their business. And a lot of us own jobs, we don't own businesses. Now, what I mean by that is most of the time we're working on a business that we own and it's a job. So we own a job, right? And the business owner may not necessarily have the time to sit and do all of these things because they're a small operation. And a lot of businesses now don't make $4 million a year. Like small businesses don't make these kinds of profits, right? We're actually just owning jobs. So these types of offerings that you can do to smaller organizations can really help grow a business. Now, mastering AI prompts have to follow these foundations, right? Give the prompt the role that it needs to play. Give the prompt the objectives, give the prompt the initiatives, give the prompt the buyer persona, who they're targeting, why they're targeting that particular customer, what is the initiative that it's working on for this particular campaign or this particular project. And then you want to tell it where you are currently. Maybe you're only at $150,000 in annual sales and you want to get to $1 million in annual sales in a 12-month time frame. What needs to happen, right? I want to get to $1 million in 12 months. How can I achieve this goal based on everything that I've told you? Also based on maybe some of the tools that they currently have. So you also want to just give it enough information so that it could build what you want. And like I said, the most important thing is when you get the output, ask the prompt, the AI, to tell you how it got to this point, right? That's very, very important. Ask the prompt how it has got there, okay? Because then it's going to tell you its thought process, and that's really the stuff you want to know. You want to know what research it's done, has it done any fact checking, and ask it, because if you don't ask, it thinks it's right. So you have to ask it to back that up with its reasoning. And that's where you'll find if any of it is accurate or not. And then that's where you start making your tweaks based around that. Now, as far as this being a lucrative hustle, a lucrative side business, you have to do a little legwork. If you have a small budget and you just want to create a website, you could create a website and offering this service, and you can then use ChatGPT to your advantage as well and say, hey, listen, I'm going to take this prompt engineering as a business, as a consultant for organizations. I want to sell this, create me the content for my website, right? The bot will help you create the website. Then you can plug and play those details and what you want to have that website say. And then you can ask it for some SEO keyword search to get me or get you the information that someone would search to get to your website. And then you also want to say, give me a list of 5 companies right now in my local area that I can contact that do X, Y, and Z, right? And it may not give you a phone number, but it might give you the names of the businesses that you can start crafting. Now, you've given me 5 businesses that I can reach out to. Please draft me an email to these businesses and say, I now would like to offer you services based on the things that your organization does. You can either send that in an email, you can either put that letter in the mail, however you'd like to communicate. You can also say, hey, I want to actually call a couple of these businesses. Now give me a script so that I can call and cold call and ask these particular companies for their business or ask them for a meeting that I can pitch these ideas to. So there's a lot of ways to get the business. Of course, it's not going to be a one size fits all. If someone's telling you you're going to get rich overnight, then I would probably run because they're lying. Everything you do is going to require you to take time. But if you can master the art of prompting, it could make your life 10x. You could start doing things in your life more efficiently and in a fraction of the time. I'm talking about normally what would take you maybe 2-3 weeks to come up with an idea could take you less than an hour to put together a whole plan, a strategy to conquer a campaign. So these things are really helpful. And like I said, you really only need a website with, your contact information and how they can reach you. And then, obviously some letterhead, some letters that you could, specifically send out to the organization in your local, or you could just go to the offices and say, hey, I specifically deal in creating automation for organizations, and how if I told you that I could reduce the number of hours that your organization spends on doing your day-to-day tasks. Now, that's a great opener when you're going into a business and you say, hey, I have a way that I can reduce 6 hours of your day doing meaningless tasks that we can get done in an actual hour. That's going to get the attention of the business owner naturally, and they can do it for a fraction of the cost. And that is your opening to start talking to them. So while people may disagree with this, it is not going anywhere. And learning how to master artificial intelligence at this stage is going to benefit you. It's going to be a benefit. You don't want to just be an end user asking simplistic questions. You want to understand the building blocks of mastering prompt engineering. Now, if you like this video, please comment, like, subscribe. Like I said, I'm a growing channel and I want to start doing more videos about AI prompting because it really is extremely lucrative, and a lot of head companies that are larger organizations are hiring people strictly to do this type of work. So if it's something you're interested in, like and subscribe, say you're interested in more, and we can go into more deep diving videos on how to prompt engineer with AI. And, join me and we'll talk more. So I hope this was helpful, and stay tuned because we have 3 additional workshops that are going to be available for the other side hustles that you can do if you're not interested in artificial intelligence. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching. Bye.